You're listening to the Me, My Bag and I Ostomy podcast.
So we're here today to discuss exercise and sport after stoma surgery, so colostomies, ileostomies and urostomies, and how you can kind of get back into or start afresh exercise after surgery. So my name's Ollie Rowley. I've had a stoma only about a year. In fact, nearly exactly a year. It's 2 days, I think, and it'll be my anniversary. So I need to get a cake. I originally had the stoma. The cause was diverticulitis. So part of my lower colon had quite a big flare up, and then it attached itself to my bladder, and then created a tunnel between the two, which had certain complications which weren't particularly pleasant at the time. I still consider myself fairly lucky for having it because I wasn't aware that I had diverticulitis beforehand, and it was something that came around quite quickly and was resolved relatively quickly as well. So I think although I've had quite major surgery and it was possibly life-changing, I like to see it in a good way rather than a negative one.
My name is Rebecca Langley. I was diagnosed with stage 3 bowel cancer 2.5 years ago at the age of 30. That was after 11 years of ulcerative colitis, and even though I'd had colitis for 11 years, I wasn't really familiar with what a stoma was, and I was certainly told about it in a very negative light as a kind of last resort thing, and actually I would say it's a massive blessing, and I've done a lot more since the stoma surgery. Mine is a permanent ileostomy.
Hi, my name is James Whitford and I have an ileostomy. I had my first operation in 2004, so I've had my ileostomy now for getting on for 15 years. And yeah, it was resulting from either a combination of Crohn's or colitis, depending on which specialist I speak to. But yeah, I think as Rebecca said, it without a doubt changed my life, and it's for the better. I definitely wouldn't go back.
Fitness-wise, I think before I had my colostomy, approximately 18 months to 2 years before, I'd started running, mainly because I wanted to lose weight, because I'd just kind of gone through life and got to the point where I think exercise hadn't become part of my daily routine, and it kind of dropped off my radar a little bit, just with work, kids, life getting in the way a little bit. So I'd started running. I lost 3 stone, which I was really happy with. So I was like, yeah, I got to the kind of place where I wanted to be. I was generally running sort of 5Ks, 10Ks, things like that. When I was trying to get up to the point where I could do a half marathon, that was kind of my goal for the end of the year. And I'd found a 15K race, which is quite an odd one, but it's kind of between a 10K and a half marathon. So I thought that'd be a good kind of starting point and somewhere to sort of aim for and see how I get on. And if I do well with that, then I can go on and look at doing a half marathon. But it was after the 15K that I'd done that I started getting symptoms, which kind of alerted me to the fact that I had diverticulitis. So in a way, exercise kind of probably brought on much quicker the fact that I had something wrong with me. I wasn't aware of it before that, so in a way it probably saved my life to a degree, I think. Because I think if I'd have left it, my symptoms would have got to the point where it would have been an emergency rather than something that was planned. So it kind of worked out quite well that symptoms became apparent because of my running, and then I was able to get help that I needed. So exercise definitely worked quite well for me on that point. And then I think since having the surgery, exercise for me has been something that's given me a focus away from the medical side of things, and it has a massive positive impact on my mental well-being as well as my physical. I'm very keen to try and keep my weight and my activity levels consistent, so I'm not kind of yo-yoing with weight or anything like that, and I'm staying healthy because I know there's a chance I will need surgery in the future, and I kind of keep telling myself if I keep myself fit and active, that's definitely going to help when I do have surgery, and it's going to help with recovery and hopefully kind of remove certain risks, or at least lower risks in that point. So
I definitely find that post-surgery it helps with my mental kind of, well, it sounds a bit sort of mental well-being. I definitely feel better.
Yeah.
Training. I did quite a lot before I had my operation, but I got very poorly very quickly. So I went from sort of running 5-10Ks and doing a lot of mountain biking and things to being able to struggle to walk upstairs. This was before my operation. So post, it definitely helps both mentally and physically feeling better, getting out and doing stuff.
So I was a runner, I'd say for about 10 years. And so that's including the time post-op. And pre-op, I obviously had the colitis. I tried to run with colitis. I had good days, I had bad days. I often found that actually running made my symptoms better, and I could run for up to an hour, which is about 10k for me, and that my symptoms would stop. So that would be great for me, because I thought, wow, I can go out, I can clear my mind, I can get some fresh air. You know, you get the endorphin buzz from that. It also stopped the colitis for that hour, and I thought, this is amazing, I love this. But then I'd suffer later in the day. I tried to swim with the colitis, and I'd found that wasn't as good, and I'd suffer more with the diarrhea and with the symptoms. So I stopped swimming, which I hated it, but I did keep up the running. In the last year or so before my surgery, the colitis got a lot worse, and I had accidents when I was out running. And when you're in your 20s, the last thing you want to talk to friends about is going running and saying, oh yeah, I've just been for a run, but I didn't even get home before I needed the loo. And that I'd still run, because I thought I had two options. I went running, I had an accident, or I sat at home and I felt rubbish. So I still ran. But post-op, I have run further. So pre-op, usually I did stick to 10Ks. I did 10 miles, but that took a lot. I finished it, I ran all the way, I finished it in 1:44. But post-op, I've done a half marathon, and I put that down to the stoma.
How long has it taken you to get back to that since your operation?
So I had the operation in the April. I was very, very sick after the operation. I was in hospital for about 2.5, 3 weeks afterwards, nasal feeding, TPN feeding, so via a vein. So even walking, like you said, up and down the stairs, even walking down the corridor once or twice a day, I was moving, and that was very, very important with my recovery. The physios, the nurses were getting you moving. But I couldn't even think of walking a kilometre, let alone jogging that. No. I then had complications with my chemo that left me in intensive care, but again, after my initial recovery, they got me moving again. I would say, so after the intensive care in May and June, I then just started walking every day, whether that be 10 metres, 20 metres, up and down the stairs once, up and down the stairs twice, to the gate, to the post box. I mean, it was really, really baby steps. I walked my first kilometre in the November, and then in the September, and then ran my first kilometre in the November.
Okay. Well,
so
it's tough. I mean,
6 months plus, yeah.
Yeah, I found it was kind of exponential. I went from just struggling to get upstairs, which, for somebody who's, I used to climb mountains and get out into Scotland and do long walks, to struggle with half a flight of stairs is it's a bit soul destroying. But actually, you just have to keep at it.
Yes.
And I found that just, a set of stairs every day, and then just walking around the house, and as you say, you kind of, give yourself little targets, like a kilometre.
Yeah.
And you think a kilometre, I'm never going to do it, and then you do, and you just think, right, what's next?
Yeah. So when I was in intensive care, I told myself, right, okay. I mean, I couldn't get out of bed at some points, and all the cables and everything, and I just said I told myself, right, within a year you're going to walk or jog a 5k. It was completely crazy. That was like a marathon for me. And as you say, it was exponential. So after that kilometre in the November, I then hit 6k by the December. So once I got to that 1k, it picked back up, and then it was 9k by the January, and I thought, okay, this is crazy. I've gone way past the 5k. And then actually that following September, so 16 months later, I did the half marathon. So although it was very, very slow at first, or it felt very slow from where I'd been.
So that was like 12 months. 12 months.
So it's 15, 16 months, yeah, from intensive care to half marathon.
That's good effort.
So I wasn't expecting that, and I was pretty happy with that one.
To be honest, I'm not convinced I could do that fit now. Go from to nothing to half marathon in 15 months. I think that's a fair effort.
I was quite similar timeline wise.
Yeah. So you've done a half.
Yeah, because I had the surgery in December.
Yeah.
And then I did my first half marathon in October. Gone. I wasn't as seriously ill. I wasn't in intensive care for as long, so I think it wasn't as intense. I was in hospital for 10 days. But it's very similar to you guys, where you're setting yourself weird targets, where you've been used to running or swimming or cycling massive distances, and then you're just challenging yourself to walk to the toilet to have a shower.
Shower's a big it's
that
like,
first
wow,
shower.
I stood up and you know
getting yourself washed and dressed for the first time is such a
big...
massive milestone. And then when you get home, it's can I get to that lamppost outside my house? And you're right. So I got really frustrated with myself to start with. I think initially I was fine for the first few weeks. I thought I expected to not be able to walk very far, not be able to go long distances. And I think after maybe 3-4 weeks, I was expecting myself to be much more up to speed, and I didn't expect my body to still be struggling to do what I would see as relatively small walks.
You do, and you kind of, I suppose, beat yourself up a bit harsh.
I did.
But you do feel quite critical about yourself and say, hang on a minute, I should be able to do this. But it's not. It's kind of taking a step back, I found, and sort of saying to yourself, right, just set a target. And do it, and then if you can't, that's fine. Step back.
You have to listen to your body a little bit. I think as much as mentally you might want to do it, your body's kind of saying, "No, hang on a minute. You've had massive surgery here. You need to have a little bit of a break and
I would
think
say to
about
anybody
it."
going for that surgery, going into that surgery, you know, those first, do not judge your future with a stoma on those first 3 months. No. There's so much going on. Your body's adjusting. You're adjusting, and you've just had a massive part of your body removed. I mean, it's major surgery. Yeah,
and I think people forget that even though you end up with a stoma, even if you had any major operation, it would still take you a long time. But I certainly mentally, I felt because I now had a stoma, I had to not prove myself, but I had to get fit again. Yeah. And I think you forget that it's not just a stoma; it's a major operation, and therefore, whatever happens, it's going to take a while. Yeah. And it's tough, and it just take time, but it's exponential.
It really is, yeah. And like you said, once you start going, you do feel like a snowball effect, and suddenly
I did vow never to run a half marathon again, but I think that's more because of the hydration thing. So mentally, I'd love to run a marathon, but because I've got no colon, I just cannot get the calories in. And some people say that will improve, and if you put a chart, then obviously you'd hope that in a couple of years I may be able to. But for me, that half marathon was way, way beyond everything that I could have even dreamed of doing. So I'm happy with that.
It's a big thing. It's a big thing for people that haven't gone through life-changing surgery. It's a big thing for anybody to do is to run that fast.
And I do find having the advantage of having had my ileostomy for like 15 years now, that your small intestine does start to take on some of the role, and actually 15 years down the line I do have to keep my hydration up to sort of a good 2.5 litres a day just generally. But actually, if I train and I do 24-hour events, I've not got to drink that much more, and it does 3-4 litres, which to be honest it does, and I'm definitely absorbing the nutrients and the water. So, but it takes a bit of time.
That's quite interesting. I hadn't thought about that, how your body would adapt over that period of time.
Because they say that some people with ileostomy, when they've then had later surgeries, that the ileum looks more like a colon because it's had to adapt to that role.
Yeah.
So I dream.
It's nice to have dreams and challenges up, but it's good. But I do find sort of long events hard, and it is difficult to hydrate and get the calories in.
Hydration, because that's something I've really struggled with. I think that would be my limiting factor.
Because most of the sports I do involve bikes, mountain bikes or road bikes. I'm lucky that I can carry a camelback, and generally I'll probably drink 3 litres of water. My camelback will take 3 litres, so I can do a full day out.
And you'll just
with
have
that.
Water. You won't have
I use some tablets called Noon tablets.
Okay.
NUUN. They're like a little hydration tablet, but they're not. They haven't got any sugar or anything in them. They're just electrolytes. Because I found that some of the sort of the energy drinks or the powders you can put in your camelbacks, I just got a sugar high or a sugar low, or they just taste horrible. Which becomes a big thing. If you're out all day,
hours,
you just get bored of some things.
3 litres of something that you don't like as well is quite a lot.
It's a lot to drink. But then, to be honest, when I'm out, if I go into the Peak District and I'm out, for a big day on a mountain bike, I get to treat myself, because I just take a load of mini pork pies and really high fat foods, and the lads I'm riding with are like, how do you eat all this? It's like, that's the advantage of a stoma.
Some perks.
I can eat what I like. So there's a lot of high fat stuff like pork pies, sausage rolls, and then the favourite jelly babies. I take a few of those. They always make you feel better if you're feeling a bit miserable anyway.
Yeah, it's always good.
But I suppose that's not as easy if you're running. I suppose you can take.
So I do use it. So if I'm doing 10k, I will take a camelback just because it's easier. Because I find even if you've got a water bottle, you're slightly lopsided, and I just find it easier with a camelback. So depending on how I am, and you guys will know that some days you feel that you need a bit more, sugar and energy. So I will take squash and electrolytes in the camelback, and then I'll take some gummy gels.
Yeah, I usually use gels and jelly
I try
jelly
to
beans.
avoid them because, as you say, you get the sugar spike and then that crash afterwards. But if I need it, then I feel that with the ileostomy, you can suddenly crash a lot quicker. Your energy levels can just go, so you'll be fine, and then
and then it does seem to take a little bit longer than other people to people without ileostomies. I've found as long as you kind of a little bit and often, it seems to work.
Yes,
And especially if I'm out on long days, I try and avoid anything with high fibre in it, just because it you just fills your bag up quicker. So it's an excuse to eat more sort of junk food to some extent. It's, A, getting more energy from it, and B, there's less fibre in it, so that kind of works nicely for me. And you can do a good day out, and it's not a problem.
Did you both, once you kind of got back into a bit of a routine of exercising, did you both set yourself targets that you wanted to do? So a distance or a particular event by a particular time?
Yeah,
I definitely found that having something to focus on gave me a reason to go out when it's raining, and a reason to sort of push myself a little bit more.
Yeah, without even just little events, I think it's all challenges. Or even if I just organise a group ride with a load of mates that I'm going to do, like at the moment we've got a big ride planned over Christmas. Yeah. So actually it's just like, right, I need to be as fit as my mates. I need to prove that I can, well, not prove to anybody else, but sometimes it's prove to myself. And I don't like to be left behind by them, to be honest. So, and it's nice to rub it into them when I beat them up a hill. You've just been beaten by an old disabled man. So that's always, it's kind of a nice incentive to get out and ride on a wet, miserable Thursday afternoon. You just get out and do. But I always feel better. I don't know whether it's the same with you, but no matter how miserable I feel when I leave the house, when I come back, definitely. I think I'm glad I went. It definitely, both mentally and physically, I feel almost re-energized. It's kind of a nice feeling.
I always try and say to myself when I get back to remember that feeling. Because then that next morning when I don't want to go out, I think I'll feel like that at the end of it. That's why I'm going out. That's the reason. Is trying to keep that in your forefront of your mind, and not the rain hitting the window as you're looking outside going, do I want to go out there? But I've never once felt worse when I got back than when I left the house.
It's always, even if you're feeling miserable, and it's really tough to get out. I think it does pick you up, but having that sort of event or something planned does give you that little bit more impetus to get out. So
I'm dreadful. So as I said, my goal for the 1 year after intensive care, so that's end of May, June time, was the 5k. And then when I'd run the 6k in the January, I was like, December, and then the 9k in the January, I need more than this. So instantly it went to triathlon. And so I went online, I was like, all right, I need a local triathlon, and that was it. I booked it for April. And if somebody had told me that within a year, so it's 3 days before the anniversary of my stoma surgery, that I'd be doing a triathlon and then the half marathon 6 months after that, whatever.
You'd told me you were dreaming, It was tough getting out of bed and walking to the toilet and trying to stand, as you say, trying to stand and have a shower.
Can't shower myself.
You can't reach your feet. You just, everybody says to you, you can't sit up in bed because of the operation, and you've got to watch. And so to be doing that in 12 months is amazing.
It was crazy, but I am really, really bad at, right, I've done that, right, what do I do now? I've got to do something more.
Yeah.
If I don't have something there to aim for, I kind of nosedive a little bit and start feeling a bit like, I've done
that. I get that after events as well, so I do a run or 10k or an event, and then I feel I'll have to rest, and I'll get down. I think, I need to book another event.
It's an addiction, I think.
I think it's a healthy addiction.
Yeah, in a good way, definitely.
Have you got sort of long-term goals? I set before my operation, I'd always wanted to do a mountain bike race called the Mega Avalanche, which is at an D'Huez, and they race from the top of a mountain called Pic Blanc at 3,300 metres down to the valley bottom. It's about 40 odd kilometres, and they start on a black run. You start in the snow on your mountain bike. Wow. And it took me 10 years to get fit enough to qualify, and then about 4 years ago I raced it, and that's but the problem is you kind of set this, and now I'm like, right, now what do I do?
Because you must have spent months and months leading up to that. And that must have been your main key focus.
But it took years. but it was nice to have something that I really and I wouldn't have been disappointed if I didn't make it. But it was nice to have like like a marathon or something major to strive for. And as I say, it took 10 years, but there's a lot of people who never get the chance to race it. So actually, I was really pleased to be able to push myself and
I think a really
that.
important point that you made there is that although I'm really tough on like, right, do this, if I can't, I'm like, it's okay.
It's a big thing.
It's okay, and I'm much softer on myself. Before I would have beaten myself up before, and now I'm like, actually, what you've been through, people drop out of events for all sorts of things, and I think it's allowing yourself to say, right, this weekend isn't it, or not necessarily an illness or an injury, but just you're not up to it.
I think I find that I struggle a little bit with my illness still because it's a mixture of Crohn's and colitis. I'm still on steroids and I'm still on antibiotics and all sorts of bits and pieces. But I think even if I don't do as well as I wanted to, I look at it and say, well, actually, I did my best with the amount of training I could do because I wasn't well, or work and family commitments get in the way. I'm never going to win, but actually, I can finish an event and come last and say that was the best I could do at the time, and be really pleased.
Exactly.
And I'm really pleased that that's what I did. And I think it's quite easy to get a bit down on yourself if you don't.
I came second from last in the bike section of my first Openwall triathlon, and it didn't matter. It didn't matter. I was on the start line. I'd done well in the swim, and you just have to compare yourself to you. You can't say, it's just
perspective to a degree, isn't it? It's looking at
and comparing
everything
it
that's happened to you.
It's way
you can't do it.
ahead,
And it's you on the day as well. It's not you last week when you were feeling brilliant.
If you're having a bad day,
it's especially with ongoing problems, it's very easy to go, do you know what, I can't be bothered going today. I've entered, but actually just turning up and finishing, I always think,
that's a bigger.
I did it and it was worth doing, and I always feel better. Always feel better. It doesn't matter if I come last. The fact I tried.
Yes.
I feel better in myself. It does make a difference. I've not really been involved in much in the way of support groups. I've not hidden from them, but I think because I'm quite okay with having a stoma, I just get on and do with the mates I've always and the people I've always ridden with. But it would be nice to kind of do more with people with stomas. And you were talking about Facebook groups and other groups.
That group in particular is very positive.
Which one?
Ostomy Lifestyle Athletes, it's called. It's all people that do
so it's any type
marathons,
of stoma. And some people have had a reversal, but most of them have still got their stoma. And we've got runners, we've got triathletes. There's
literally all sorts.
Crazy cyclists that do all sorts of crazy distance, and it's amazing to see.
What's the Facebook page?
It's Ostomy Lifestyle Athletes.
Okay,
we'll have to have a look and.
I'll have a
get you on it afterwards.
For me, I mean, you said that you had your group of friends. For me, I just needed to know that as a 30-year-old who just had stoma surgery, that there were other 30-year-olds out there
doing things.
So I was given a very cautious message by my medical staff about, you're at risk of hernia and you have to be careful and you may not run again. And I thought, okay, well, but I want to run again. I want to be fit, active and healthy, which I've been able to. But I think Ola, or Ostomy Lifestyle Athletes, was just a big encouragement to say, actually, you take the right precautions, you get your hydration right, your nutrition right, your hernia prevention right, your core recovery programs, you get all of that right, you can do.
It's a realisation that you can do what you want to do. As long as you plan it in properly, then there's no barriers to what you want to do.
It's
definitely
nice.
That for me.
And the other group that you said you're in?
I'm also part of the Colostomy UK Facebook group, which is not just sporting related, it's kind of all things colostomy. So you get all sorts on there. So you get sort of people asking medical questions, people asking for support. But they've also got a sort of sporting arm to the charity called Team Colostomy UK. And they do various different things throughout the year. So they do all different kind of levels and age groups and things like that. So they do things like chair yoga for people who are sort of less physically able.
There's a swimming, they help people back to swimming, because it's quite a big fear, isn't it, post-op? Is my bag going to fall off in the water?
So they've got closed swimming groups, so they'll hire a swimming pool for the entire day. And people can all go, and everyone else is either ostomates or family members of ostomates, so kind of. But then they've also, I think it was about 2 years ago, slightly before I got involved, but they started a rugby league team, because I think they kind of thought, it's probably the one sport most people think is the least likely thing you can do with a stoma, because it is sort of physical contact and it's a little bit aggressive sometimes.
Yeah, I think I'd second that.
Yeah, it can be. So it's a masters team, so essentially there's slightly different rules. So you can wear different coloured shorts. So certain players, if you're not comfortable with full contact, you can play touch, or you can decide to play full contact if you want to. So there's kind of various different people throughout the teams who you can choose. Basically, there's no stigma attached to what you want to do and how you want to play it. But we played 4 games this year, sort of across the country. So we played one in Medway, we did one in Lancashire, one in Yorkshire, and then we played one down in EU this year as well.
Which is really cool, actually. I never, ever would have thought that after everything my body has been through, I'd be invited onto a rugby pitch. But I got in touch with Colostomy UK to say, oh, it's near me, I'll come and watch. And Giovanni emailed back and said, do you want to run out for us? And I thought, you were crazy. And then I thought, do you know what? I am a massive rugby union fan. And I won't say I know all the rules, but I get the general gist of the game, and I thought I cannot turn this opportunity down. And so I emailed back and said, yep, I'll play for 10 minutes. And I think we're supposed to have 4 subs turn up.
Yeah, we had 2, did we? Or was it 1?
We had 2.
Yeah.
And I think somebody was injured in the first 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then that was it. I think I played about 45 minutes of rugby. And it was just the best thing ever. It was I had yellow shorts on, I wasn't tackled, I managed to catch the ball, I managed to throw the ball, and for me that's...
It's great fun though, and
yeah.
I hadn't played rugby before this year, so since having the colostomy I've started playing rugby, which sounds a bit bonkers, but it's been great fun, and it's a great team of people. There is different people that come depending on where it is in the country, and then there's a few of us that have been to all the games, but I think in the game we played last, there was at least 8 people that had stomas.
Yeah, so I just find it really great that there's that encouragement. But yeah, there's some very serious players, and then Giovanni going, yeah, come along, and I said, well, I've never stepped on a rugby pitch in my life, and that's fine. And actually we all had an absolute blast, and
everyone enjoys themselves, and it doesn't matter what level you're at. I think anyone can get involved regardless whether you played rugby before or if you're a seasoned pro. There's people that play on a regular basis. The game we played up in Chorley, there was a couple of actual professional players that came down to support for the day. So a couple of Super League players came down because they played for Chorley when they were kids, so they kind of got ties to the club. But they came down and they were water boys for the day, which was great because it got quite a bit of media attention. I think it helped with getting in the local press and that kind of side of it, and it was quite good. Yeah. But I think for me, weirdly, it was the first time I think I've been in a changing room and seen somebody else with a colostomy bag.
Yeah.
Obviously, you sort of get used to having it on yourself. Yeah. It was the first time I've been in the changing room with loads of other people all getting changed, and there was sort of 7 or 8 different colostomy bags in there, and you kind of think, oh. It almost shocked me slightly, which is odd, because I knew that was the environment was going to be like, and it was weird, but it was also really good because it wasn't a thing, and everyone was in the same boat.
Yeah, and nobody notices. It's kind of one of those,
exactly.
It's not a big deal. I think
changing rooms, and even...
I think when you have the surgery, mentally, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And I certainly felt like I was walking around with it on my head, and everybody knew, and it was really obvious. And
for me, the first time as well, I think there was people there through all different stages of having the colostomy. So some people had it 10, 15 years. Other people, like myself, it was relatively new. It's 6 months, and there's a whole kind of range in between of reasons why people had them and other illnesses as well. So it's quite eye-opening, but also showed what you could do, and it was really good.
But I do find, or I do think that I do more post-operation than I did beforehand.
Definitely.
And it's not sort of to prove to anybody. It's just to sort of get out and I think because I was so poorly, it's almost like, right, I'm going to live life to the full now. Yeah. This is almost like a second chance for me. Mm-hmm. So therefore, get on and do.
Use it.
And,
sounds like cliche, doesn't it? But
it does.
I hate that a little bit. I hate the cheesiness of it, but it's so true.
But you do. And you end up doing loads of stuff that you just think, actually, normally I might have said no to. Mm-hmm. Almost this, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't have put myself out here like this, I don't think.
No.
Before having the surgery, but knowing that you can help other people by doing it and sharing your experiences and showing that it can be a positive thing.
Yeah, you almost want to say to everybody, look, just because you've got a stoma, don't let it stop you. It's tough at first, but keep trying, and you get there. You know.
And there is help out there, I think, and there's other people experiencing the same things as you are, and you're not on your own.
No,
if you look out and ask, there's plenty of people out there that can give you advice and help you along the way.
And I think there's a lot of overcautious advice, which it's worth listening to, but don't take your first answer. If you ask somebody, can I do this, and they say, ooh, possibly not, get out there, look on Facebook and speak to people, because I was told a lot of things that I would never be able to do, and now I do them. I go out into the mountains for days at a time, camping, rough camping, changing my bag with river water and just making sure it's clean, and you do it, and everybody was like, oh no, you can't leave civilization, and you can. you can go camping, you can go walking, biking, for days on end, and it's just
preparation, isn't it?
Yeah. There's more to think about.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. I also think you kind of get used to it.
Yes. Yeah. It's just a different lifestyle. It's just different ways.
It does become a new normal. I think the first 3, 5, 4, 5 months, you kind of it's always on your mind. You're kind of thinking about it, and it's hard to sort of not think about it. It's always at the front of your mind, I think. But after a while, it kind of just becomes what it is.
Yeah. I mean, I'm lucky. I suppose it's an odd turn of phrase, but I've had my Stoma for sort of 15 years, and I almost forget isn't quite right. But yeah, I do. I just, I pack and I go away. And
I'd say when I'm running,
don't think about it
if I'm in open water, I forget that it's there.
Yeah.
And not only do you get the mental health benefits, but you can just forget about it. I can forget about my appointments and my checkups and scans and everything else. And you've got focus. You've got something to achieve. You've got something to set. Goals to set.
And I always feel better. I think we've said repetitively now that when I get out, when I come back from a ride, both mentally I feel better, and I feel almost more confident. It does help in my if I've got a big meeting at work or something, if I train in the morning beforehand, why it would make a difference I've got no idea, but I do. I think it's just you just feel better.
It definitely does.
I find more confident.
The stress release as well. If I'm having a particularly busy day at work, I don't go for a run at lunchtime, and I'll come back, and although I'm physically tired, mentally I feel much more refreshed, and that
clear.
Stress kind of goes a little bit, and it just allows you to think and
clear your head.
Definitely. And it's odd. You can't explain why it does it. I don't think, but I always feel much better. Yeah. I know that as well. I think before, when I didn't exercise on a regular basis, I probably wouldn't have thought about mental health as much.
Yeah.
It was there, and it was always a thing, and it was up and it was down, but I didn't really try to manage it. Whereas since exercise, I think probably I've come to realise by exercising I can manage my mental health a lot better, and it's become much more of a conscious decision to do that, rather than just let my moods go up and down as they would naturally.
And I would say, having had colitis, my anxiety is lower. So I call it a toilet radar.
Yeah.
So pre-op was like, where's the nearest loo? Am I going to get there? Yeah. Is there going to be a queue? And that was just constant. And now you can just switch that off. But then going out and doing sports, it's even less. It's forget about stuff.
And it's, I suppose confidence-wise for me in the early days, the fact that I could go and, ride a mountain bike, get wet, cold and muddy for 4 or 5 hours and not have a leak or not have any problems with my bag, actually then was like, well, actually I can go to the pub. Because that's easy, and all of a sudden this fear of leaving, not necessarily leaving the house, but going somewhere with the bag, thinking, am I going to have problems? You just think, actually, because I've been out in the wet and cold, I can go and stand at a pub for 2 hours, I can go to a nightclub and dance and get hot and sweaty. So if you had any advice, I mean, you're reasonably recent to the ileostomy world, what would your advice be to anybody who's just, I don't know, had an operation now? And
I've said it already, just do not judge your future on those first few months after surgery. And that could be 3 months, that could be 6 months, that could be a year. Everybody's journey is so different. Some people get a lot of leaks in the first few months while you're trying to work it. You've got higher output, you're trying to work out what bag works for you, what support wear works for you. Just don't judge it on that. Don't be too hard on yourself. Get out walking, build up, give yourself goals, but don't think this is it for the rest of it, because it's not. It's not.
And it is, as you say, it's important to try. Don't be sort of put off by the first bag that you try. Certainly the ones in hospitals can be a bit basic and they're a bit miserable, but there's a lot of products out there and sort of accessories as well. I've not only do I use the bag, I use salts, do some rings that I use, and that really helps seal and stop any sort of even minor leaks. So it is trial and error, and it is tough, but you get through.
Go online. I mean, you mentioning different companies. I was given that bag and I thought, well, is this it? I didn't realise that there's loads of different companies. And go on there, order samples, order rings, order pastes and powders and whatever, and support things to to work
To
out
try.
what works for you,
Yeah.
because something that works for somebody else isn't necessarily going to work for you.
And especially nowadays, the adhesives 15, 16 years ago were good, but they're brilliant now. You know, I can go for 2 days in the hills and not have a leak and not worry about it, to be honest. And then it's not difficult to remove, but you just think, yeah, this is well stuck down. When you try and change it 2 days later, you just think, yeah, it's
reassuringly stuck.
Yeah, and I think it's just that. Don't give up hope, and there isn't anything you can't do. Just keep trying a little bit at a time.
I think you've got to set yourself some goals and don't limit yourself.
Yeah.
I think you need to take it easy to start with and listen to your body. But I'd also say reach out to other people who are in similar circumstances if you can.
There's a lot of
Social
advice out
media's
there.
great.
Yeah.
Even your local Stoma nurse is probably going to know other people that are similar age. You might have similar activities. Try and talk to other people that are in the same boat and see what they've done, and create a bit of a network for yourself of people that you can get advice from and who've done similar things. You're not necessarily going to do exactly the same, but you'll probably take little bits from different people and different bits of advice, different bits of equipment that you might not have heard of, or sort of extras and bits and pieces, or top tips.
Yeah,
bits
basically, get out there and do.
Yeah.
Is what I think we all recommend.
Thanks for downloading the free Me, My Bag and I podcast from Salts Healthcare. If you enjoyed it, please hit the subscribe button and the next podcast will come straight to your device. We care what you think, so it'd be great to hear your thoughts. Please leave a review on iTunes.